Hello, my name is Falm'e Davis, and mass media encourages an unrealistic view of the world by Americans. So today, I'll be talking about a phenomenon known as mean world syndrome, which is derived from the cultivation theory, which says that the more we consume news or mass media, radio, social media, the more we believe that the things that we see are contrary and exact to the way as reality is. First, people believe that the world is more violent than it actually is. By show of hands, in the past week, how many of you have seen a violent story either on the news or social media? Everybody. Okay. So what this is a result of is the top story culture. With the rise of huge major corporations in TV and media, such as ABC, NBC, CBS, etc., there becomes a heavy emphasis on viewers. So because there's a heavy emphasis on viewers, there becomes a heavy emphasis on the top story. So there may be times where you're watching TV or watching the news and you see that there's a story about maybe a woman was attacked. And you see the same story on CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, all these different news stations and news channels. And you ask yourself, why is this one story being told on all these different news stations? Because it's a top story, and it also causes people to tune in. The mean world syndrome says that the more that we take in, the more violent that we believe the world is. Gallup Incorporated took a poll of 500,000 citizens, and they asked what their satisfaction of the country was. In 1999, country satisfaction was 71%. In 2009, that dropped to 7%. And country satisfaction specifically is if whether people are happy or not is the direction that the country is going. They took this same group and asked them how many of them believe that the U.S., the United States, had a serious crime problem. 88% of those people said the United States had a serious crime problem, while only 11% of them said the same about their local communities. What this shows is that these people, or American people, are watching so much TV and so much news that are swearing up and down that the country is so violent, that violence is increasing, that violence is prevalent in the country, that they believe, that 88% of Americans believe that we are in a serious crime problem, while only 11% of them say the same about their own communities. Which means that these news stations are reporting on the same violent tragedies that may or may not be happening at an increasing rate. Social media is a huge contribution to the growth of the skewed perceptions of society. 6 of 10 adults in the United States get their news from social media outlets. So what that means is if there's 24 of us in here, then 18 of us get our news from social media. Now that may not seem problematic now, but when in an age where the internet is starting to take over and not as many people have cable television as the past, we see more news outlets like CNN, NBC, ABC. They start to create Twitter pages, Instagram pages, Tumblr pages, and now we have more 24/7 news. So if we have 24/7 news, that means we have an emphasis on what's being told, no matter where we look. So now when you're logging into Twitter and you believe, oh, well, I'm not watching TV or I'm not tuning in to TV, you're wrong. Now you see these same CNN, NBC, ABC stories on your timelines. And they reinforce these ideas. The Pew Research Center did a The Pew Research Center did a poll on how many people believe that social media is a better source of news than TV is. 4 out of 10 U.S. adults said that social media is a better news outlet than TV is. So 6 out of 10 adults get their news from social media, and 4 out of 10 U.S. adults believe that it's a better source of news than TV is. What we're not realizing is that regardless of whether we feel that it's a better source of news or whether we get our news from there, we're still getting the same information. So in conclusion, we see that the mean world syndrome is extremely prevalent in our culture. The internet is being used by these major corporations that we see on TV to push the envelope of a more violent America, so it makes Americans believe that our country is more violent. Thank you.
All right, well, the proposition's pretty well identified. There's not really a preview of what the supporting structure is. And although you have good explanations of the theory, and I think some nice transitions in the body of the speech, it could use a lot more structure to make it easier for the listeners to follow. You did a nice job explaining concepts and how they are connected to each other. I think you need to do just as nice a job at proving it, and that's not quite the same. Your reliance on a couple of pieces of information concerning what viewers believe or the frequency with which they use social media is useful, but the idea that there isn't, in fact, a substantial degree of violence to be concerned about, or that it's disproportionate and it doesn't really represent what's going on in the country, I think you need a stronger argument on that. If some comparisons, for instance, to the levels of violence in the past, like in 1999 when we had the 71% things are going okay statistic versus 2009 when it was only 7%, that's a pretty substantial reduction. I don't know that that's directed at issues like the perception of the amount of violence in society. It may be related to a lot of other things. By the way, 2009, we're in a recession, so no wonder everybody thinks everything's gone to hell in a handbasket. That's kind of perhaps a unique circumstance. But you need to be able to relate it to the influence of the media, and I'm not sure that you've done that. Like I said, I think some of the data that you have is pretty solid, but you're not always citing the sources on it. You cited the 4 out of 10 statistic was from Pew Research. I don't know where they got the 6 out of 10 research. Maybe it's the same source. You want to be a little bit more consistent about doing those things. I thought it's reasonably well presented. So good theory, needs more organization, needs a lot more proof to connect to the claim that you're making. All right, thank you.